AskReddit by 6 and no quarter. What is the current thing that future generations will say? I can't believe they used to do that. They used to send people to prison for life for having a little bit of weed. Overheard from a Gen Z. It's already happening. People still do in certain states. I wouldn't bring any into Texas, for example. Pollute the shit out of our oceans. Pollute litter anything. I flipped out on my cousin a little while back because he came to visit and we went on a hike. Finished a water bottle and just fucking tossed it in this beautiful fucking forest. I about threw him in the forest and carried the bottle out. The way we treat cancer, hopefully. Deleted. Dialysis. If you know the process, it's gruesome and medieval. Implantable blood filtering machines would be a nice feature. This is wishful thinking, but post their entire fucking lives onto the internet. I believe that this will only become more extreme. Overuse of antibiotics. Not just on humans, most antibiotics are used on livestock and animal agriculture. Human use only accounts for about a third of all antibiotic use. Donating plasma just to buy groceries because your 40+ hours a week job barely pays your bills. I hope this is something completely unheard of in the future. Being in places with no cell internet signal. I lived in a small town where there was almost no signal until recently, but I'm seeing fewer and fewer places where that is the case. It was only a few years ago that I would have to download a few podcasts for a 2-hour road trip. Coverage has gotten so good I no longer have to prepare my travel media. Hopefully file your own taxes. It's needlessly complicated, USA. Edit, since this is getting some traction. 1. Many countries do this successfully. 2. Yes, this would be for most people. A small percent of the population would make adjustments. The IRS knows most of your itemized information anyway. 3. I have probably prepared over 1040s. Mostly rich people with complicated taxes. 4. Yes, you can file yours in 4 minutes. That doesn't mean everyone else can. The IRS was ready to solve this in the 90s, but H&M, our block lobbied against it, and Intuit has been fighting it for years. The incessant inundation of marketing in our daily lives. Our technology gathers our data to tailor ads to sell us more useless trash. Your TV records you so people in an office somewhere can socially engineer ways to sell you another TV. We see something like 5,000+ advertisements a day. They are still trying to put big ads in the night sky. It's far too much, and the future will consider us barbaric for allowing it. If Futurama is any indication, it'll be the opposite. Toilet paper. I can't wait for the 3 shells. My mom has always decorated the bathroom with 3 shells. I still don't know if she is making a reference or she just likes shells. Buying bottled water from another continent. For the USA, I'm really hoping they'll be horrified that healthcare was for profit and many people paid for cancer treatments through popularity contests online. BC. People in most of the world are horrified by this today. Corporal punishment. Emotional neglect of children along gendered lines. Girls being taught to put their needs last. Boys being taught their emotions are gross. The treatment of special needs children in the education system. Hopefully things like school shootings will become something we only talk about in past tense. We'll look at a graph over time, and this time period is just a weird uptick amidst a big downward trend. To be a big downward trend, it would have had to have been reasonably high at some point that wasn't part of the uptick. The ass first pose. Sorry, don't know what it's called. Like, here's a pic of your grandmother at the Grand Canyon when she was young. Sorry her ass is so prominent in every picture, but that was the style at the time. No, I don't have any other poses of her. One trick is to tell them stories that don't go anywhere, like the time I caught the ferry over to Shelbyville. I needed a new heel for my shoe, so I decided to go to Morganville, which is what they called Shelbyville in those days. So, I tied an onion to my belt, which was the style at the time. Now, to take the ferry cost a nickel. And in those days, nickels had pictures of bumblebees on them. Give me 5 bees for a quarter, you'd say. Now, where were we? Oh, yeah. The important thing was that I had an onion on my belt, which was the style at the time. They didn't have white onions because of the war. The only thing you could get was those big yellow ones. Working 5 days a week, hopefully. That we used to get most of our energy by burning the planet. Coal, natural gas, gasoline, oil, trees, whatever. Any of that. We literally poisoned and killed ourselves slowly and knowingly for like 100+ years so far. Just like we can look back on the use of lead pipes and paint and asbestos insulation flooring whatever and be rather disgusted, I sincerely hope we do so with oil. In my lifetime would be amazing, and the sooner the better at the rate we're going. Don't forget single-use plastics. I have no doubt at some point people will be dumbfounded that every minute of every day the entire world's population would use single-use plastics and packaging, put it in the bin knowing it would go into landfill for the next 10,000 years, despite alternatives being readily available. I think having multiple monthly services for essentially the same thing. There's people out there that pay for Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus and even some more at the same time. I think in the future we will either go back to having one central service or have at least learned to only have one active and can call the others in the meantime. It seems like what we're getting is basically the reinvention of cable. Drive your own car, especially when drunk. Now, this is way in the future, but I can imagine a bunch of laughing drunk college students stumbling into their self-driving car and saying, "OMG. How did they do it back in the old days? I can barely walk straight." The correct answer would be, they died. That's how they did it in the old days, they died. I heard the tag to a news story about car manufacturers wanting to put the breathalyzer tube into all vehicles, not just those under DWI charges. Hopefully the way people treat one another, both online or out in the real world. People use that loser website Reddit. Alright grandpa, let's get you to bed. Single use, disposable plastic wrap. Disposable plastic is such a nefarious phrase. Hopefully it'll be the fact that we work 40 hours per week. And considering someone that only does 40, and in only one job, a lucky motherfucker. Usernames and passwords.